Picture a man of immense courage, a man who stood tall against the tide of European colonial expansion. That man is Samouy Touré. Born in the heartland of West Africa, in the year of 1830, Touré emerged from the Wassoulou Empire, which today forms part of modern Guinea. In the late 19th century, the winds of colonialism swept across Africa, bringing with them a storm of foreign domination. But amidst this turmoil, one man dared to stand against the onslaught. His name was Samouy Touré, a leader whose strategic brilliance and diplomatic prowess would ignite an unyielding resistance against French colonial expansion. At a time when European powers were carving up Africa like a pie, Touré rose to prominence, uniting various ethnic groups under his rule and forming the formidable Wassoulou Empire. His military campaigns were not just marked by exceptional strategy, but also adaptability. He successfully resisted incursions by French colonial forces and expanded his empire across what is now Guinea, Mali, Ivory Coast, and Burkina Faso. But Touré was more than just a military leader. He was a statesman, a diplomat, and an administrator. As he resisted the French, he also forged alliances with neighboring rulers, managed a vast territory, and implemented effective governance structures. His actions were a testament to his belief in African sovereignty, a belief that would come to define his legacy. From the 1870s to the 1890s, the French colonial authorities, threatened by Touré's defiance, launched multiple military expeditions against him, now known as the Samouy Wars. Despite the relentless warfare, Touré's resilience never wavered. His resistance was a beacon, a symbol of the unyielding spirit of Africa. In the face of adversity, Touré stood tall, his defiance against the French echoing through the ages, marking him as a symbol of African sovereignty. Through his leadership and military prowess, he challenged the might of colonial powers, sowing the seeds of self-determination and liberation, and inspiring future generations to carry on his fight. Samouy Touré's defiance would echo through the ages, marking him as a symbol of African sovereignty. Born in 1830 in the Wassoulou Empire, Samouy Touré's rise to power was nothing short of extraordinary. From an obscure birth in what is now present-day Guinea, Touré was destined for a life far removed from the ordinary. Touré's early years were marked by a keen sense of ambition, a trait that would later serve him well on the battlefield and in the political arena. His strength didn't lie in his birthright, for he was not born into a family of rulers or powerful warriors. Instead, it was his indomitable will, strategic brilliance and leadership qualities that set him apart. In the mid-1800s, West Africa was a tapestry of diverse ethnic groups, each with its own distinct culture, language, and social structure. It was in this complex and divided landscape that Samouy Touré began his ascent to power. He started as a trader, but his destiny was not to remain in commerce. His journey took a dramatic turn when he was captured and enslaved by the kingdom of Ségou. But, even in chains, Touré's spirit remained unbroken. He managed to escape and return to his people, where he quickly rose through the ranks to become a military leader. His strategic acumen and diplomatic skills were instrumental in uniting various ethnic groups under his leadership. He formed alliances, consolidated power, and in the process laid the foundations for the Wassoulou Empire. His empire was not just a political entity, but a beacon of resistance against the looming threat of colonial expansion. It was an embodiment of his vision for a united, strong, and independent West Africa. His rule brought together diverse groups, sowing the seeds of unity and shared identity that would later play a significant role in the region's struggle against colonial rule. Touré's rise to power was a testament to his vision, leadership, and strategic brilliance. It was a journey marked by resilience, determination, and a burning desire to create a united and independent West Africa. Samouy Touré, the once obscure man, had become a leader of a vast empire. A military strategist and a diplomat, Samouy Touré was a man of many talents. It is said that the true art of war is not simply to vanquish your enemies but to do so without fighting. This philosophy was embodied in the actions of Samouy Touré. His brilliance in military strategy was matched only by his diplomatic prowess. Touré led his campaigns with a calculated precision that set him apart from his contemporaries. His military strategies were marked by adaptability and a keen understanding of the terrain and the enemy. He led his forces with the guile of a fox and the strength of a lion, successfully resisting French colonial forces time and time again. He was not one to shy away from a challenge. Instead, he thrived in the face of adversity. Touré's empire stretched across present-day Guinea, Mali, Ivory Coast, and Burkina Faso. The expansion of his empire was not simply a result of military conquests but also of shrewd diplomacy. He understood that the strength of an empire is not determined solely by the might of its army, but also by the alliances it forges. Touré was a diplomat in the truest sense of the word. He established alliances with neighboring rulers, creating a network of partnerships that helped to strengthen and expand his empire. His diplomatic efforts were not limited to forming alliances. He also excelled in administration. Touré managed a vast territory, implemented effective governance structures, and held his empire together through sheer force of will and astute leadership. But perhaps the most impressive aspect of Touré's leadership was his resilience. Even in the face of relentless warfare and mounting pressure from the French, he remained steadfast. His resistance against French colonization was a testament to his indomitable spirit and his unwavering commitment to his people. Touré had proven himself as a leader on the battlefield and in the halls of diplomacy. His legacy is one of courage, tenacity, and unyielding resilience. He was a warrior, a diplomat, an administrator, but above all, he was a man who dared to defy an empire. Despite his resilience, even the strongest of warriors can fall. Samouy Touré, the steadfast lion of West Africa, was no exception to this universal truth. After decades of unyielding resistance, his reign faced an inevitable twilight. The French colonial authorities, threatened by Touré's defiance and strategic brilliance, were determined to quell his rising power. The 1870s to the 1890s marked a period of relentless warfare, known as the Samouy Wars. Touré, with his formidable army, stood firm against the onslaught. His military tactics were as adaptable as they were formidable, a testament to his unwavering resolve. Yet, even the most strategic of minds could not fully anticipate the scale and persistence of the French aggression. As the years wore on, the French expeditions grew larger, more relentless. They were armed with an insatiable hunger for expansion, and Touré was seen as the last bastion obstructing their colonial ambitions. Despite his military prowess, the odds began to stack against the West African leader. In 1898, after years of tireless resistance and warfare, Touré was captured. It was a moment that reverberated across the vast expanse of the Wassoulou Empire, a somber echo of a warrior's fall. Yet, in his capture, Touré's spirit remained unbroken. He was exiled to Gabon, a land far removed from his empire, his people, his fight. But he carried with him the indomitable spirit of resistance that had defined his reign. In the heart of Gabon, far from the empire he had so fiercely protected, Touré lived out his final days. It was here, in a land far from his own, that the great West African leader met his end. In 1900, in a land far from his empire, Samouy Touré took his last breath. His body may have succumbed, but his legacy, the story of his unyielding resistance, would echo through the ages, immortalizing the fall of this remarkable warrior. Though Samouy Touré's life ended in exile, his legacy continues to reverberate across the African continent. His story is a testament to the indomitable spirit of resistance and the power of unity in the face of adversity. But what impact did this legendary figure have on West African history and beyond? Touré's military brilliance, strategic adaptability, and exceptional leadership skills did not fade away with his fall. Rather, they echoed through time, inspiring generations of African leaders and freedom fighters. His tactics in warfare, his skills in diplomacy, and his knack for administration became the blueprint for many who followed in his footsteps, fighting against colonial powers and oppressive regimes. Touré's resistance to French colonization was not just about protecting his empire. It symbolized a greater struggle for independence, nationalism, and sovereignty in West Africa. His defiance against foreign domination was a spark that ignited the flame of resistance across the continent. It was this spark that later fueled movements for independence in many African nations as they sought to reclaim their freedom and autonomy from colonial rulers. Moreover, Touré's ability to unite diverse ethnic groups under a common cause had a profound impact on Pan-Africanism. His leadership demonstrated that unity in diversity was not only possible but also instrumental in challenging colonial aggression. This message resonates with the Pan-African philosophy of collective self-reliance and solidarity among African nations. In the annals of African history, Samouy Touré holds a revered place. He is remembered not as a fallen warrior but as a hero who stood tall in the face of overwhelming odds. His life and struggle are a source of inspiration, a reminder of the resilience and strength of the African spirit. Samouy Touré, a man of courage and defiance, remains a shining beacon of African resistance and sovereignty. His legacy continues to inspire, reminding us that the seeds of resistance, once sown, can grow into mighty trees of liberation.